Hey guys, good morning. What's up? David Villa here with Mike and Ez.
Good morning.
Game
What's going on,
Changer
y'all?
Daily
How you doing?
Devo. Are you guys ready? Man, it's going to be a good day today. Wednesday, middle of the week. Stuck in the middle with you. We've been talking a little bit about faith, favor.
Anytime somebody
In your
says
future.
that, anytime somebody talks about that song, I get the same thing from Reservoir Dogs stuck in my head. Never fails, and it's now stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Yes.
100%.
So how many know it's good to be stuck in the middle as long as Jesus is with you, right? Stuck in the middle. Can you imagine that song? You think that song was written in the 70s or 80s or whenever it was written, whatever original version of the song. However, it was risen. It was written. He is risen. Sunday we will celebrate that. It was written. It was written by the disciples because they were in the middle of the water and they were in a storm, in a boat. And actually Jesus got up, and it wasn't recorded, I don't think, but he said, right before he said, peace be still, he said, I'm stuck in the middle with you guys. I'm stuck in the middle of this storm with you guys. What's going on, man? Come on. Don't you know who you're with? Don't you know who you're with? You're with Jesus. And no, I just made that up.
I like the idea of Jesus saying, you guys.
You guys. You guys.
100%.
1972 was when that song came out, by the way.
1972. My left ear keeps going in and out on this thing. Hey, where are we at on these new ear pods?
Working on it.
Ear, whatever you call them.
AirPods.
The new ears.
Ear, new in-ears. This thing's going in and out, but whatever.
We'll fix it.
Boom, boom, boom. Shakalaka. All right, so hey, guys, we're going to...
He's not going to be able to
It's nothing you can do. I think it's just the wire is a little faulty. It's fine. It's on now, Mike. It came on now. Sorry, guys. All right.
Okay.
So next time, if it goes out, I'm just going to be one-eared.
And really quick before we get into this, Elisa, if you love that shirt, just wait. Our next drop will be debuting on, I believe it's the Monday after the 7th.
I don't know.
I think it's the 12th.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
we got some.
That's
every
also
time I
the
talk, my ear
first.
goes
That's
out.
the first shirt we sold out of immediately, pretty quickly.
Yes.
So
All right. So, yeah, we have some really cool stuff coming out. Thank you very much, Elisa. And we're talking about faith, favor in your future, and this is part 3. This will be the last session on this topic in this series, I guess. And, we wrapped it up yesterday by saying this, and I think it's interesting. We put a clip out on social media yesterday, I think, as did, where we kind of honed in on the part where Simon Peter, was kind of that struggle with his faith. If there's ever been anybody who who you can relate to that struggled with their faith in their future, and really the path and the journey, I think it would be Peter. He constantly was struggling with his identity. And what I mean by identity is I mean his purpose identity. Am I a fisherman? Am I a preacher? Am I sold out in this walk? Am I not? Is this too hard? Is it, he was always like the first guy. I could relate to him because he was the first guy to speak. He always was the first guy to speak. I've learned to sometimes listen first, and I really have. It's a learn because it's not my nature, but to react after. And I'm not as good as I want to be, but I'm certainly not as bad as I used to be. And if you listen first, you'll find that you won't have your foot in your mouth as often as you do if you speak first.
100%.
And Simon Peter, I can relate to him because he constantly was, and you watch it evolve. He got so much much more mature as time went on. By the time he was in ministry and and Jesus was, had descended and the Holy Spirit came. Peter was filled with the Holy Spirit. He just became so mature. There were times where you looked and said, is this the same guy, that walked around with Jesus? And so, but during this time, it's really interesting to read the stories of the disciples and kind of read between the lines and look and see if you could pick up patterns. And Peter was struggling with his future. And that's really what it was all about. He was struggling with his future. He was a good guy. He loved Jesus. I really truly believe that. And but he was struggling with his future. So how many can relate to that? And yesterday we talked a little bit about that moment
Today on Game Changer, we had some technical difficulties, but thankfully, we were able to fix it quickly and continue with the show. So let's get back to it.
But we were talking about Peter, and we were talking a little bit about, what he struggled with. And, I think we can relate, and I'm not sure what part of that, where it cut off exactly, but I'll repeat a little bit of it. I think that, the guy that Jesus looked at and said, hey, you are, you're going to be tempted. You're going to be sifted. You're going to go through this situation, and you're going to deny me. And then he turned right around though, and he said, but I pray that your faith fail not. And when you're converted, strengthen the brethren, strengthen people, minister. And Peter struggled with his future, but what he was struggling with was the process. How many know that, it's interesting because when you're in the middle of the struggle, you don't know if you're going to make it through. You don't know if you're going to live on the other side. Sometimes you think that it's, sometimes you think that you're going to die in the middle. And, we were talking about stuck in the middle. Sometimes you think, not only am I stuck in the middle, but I'm going to die in the middle. I'm not going to make it through. And here's this crazy, you've gone too far to turn around. You've gone too far to turn around. You've rowed, you've made your way out into the middle of the sea, and you can no longer see the shore behind you, but you can't see the shore in front of you. So you're literally stuck out in the middle of what God assigns you to do. It's a place that we all have to be, but it's not a fun place. And I want to tell you that you're not stuck in the middle. You're halfway to your destiny. And Peter struggled with the middle. He struggled with the part that was the unknown. He didn't struggle when he was in the beginning, when he was a fisherman. He didn't struggle with that. He didn't struggle back on the shore of Galilee when he was throwing a net out as a young man catching fish. He thought that this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm called to do. I'm called to fish. And he didn't struggle later on when he was standing in the middle of the destiny that God called him to do. He didn't struggle when he was standing up on the day of Pentecost and he was saying that this is that was prophesied, right? This is that was spoken by the prophet Joel, right? That and begin to speak, and then 3,000 people came to know Jesus. He didn't struggle on the ends. He struggled in the middle. He struggled when he left what he knew, pursuing what he didn't know. I got to say that again. Somebody needs to hear this morning. The struggle is in the middle. The struggle is when you can't see behind you, and you've gone too far to turn around. But you also can't see what's in front of you. And it's at that moment that panic sets in. It's at that moment that what if I don't make it? It's at that moment what if this is as good as it gets? What if this is as far as I go? What if this is all there is? Right? And you're looking at it and you're going, I have a future. God prophesied over me. He spoke in Jeremiah 29:11. He said that I've got a future for you. Right? I've got good things for you. What if this is all it is? Abraham, thank you. Abraham, he told Abraham, leave your country in Genesis 12:1-3. Leave your native country. See, God, listen, you got to read the Bible. He threw the word native in there. Why? Because it was what he was used to. It was what he was familiar with. It was what he was accustomed to. He was comfortable there. In the Bible, the Lord said, leave your native country, leave your relatives and your father's family. So basically, God said to Abraham in Genesis 12, he said, leave everything that you're familiar to. By the way, I'm not telling you, hopefully somebody just doesn't pick up and leave. But what I'm trying to say is this, if you're in the middle of this thing and you go, you know what? Man, I used to have some comfort. I used to have some normalcy. I used to have some things that, I understood and I could rely on. I'm going to tell you, but it wasn't your destiny. It wasn't your destiny. And you can also think back to those times that, that's the time when you saw the snapshot of your future and you got excited about it. It was during that time when you felt that God spoke over your life. And the Lord said, leave your native country, leave your relatives, leave your family, your father's family, and go to the land that I'll show you. Now, this is what's really crazy. God didn't even tell him. He didn't even know where he was going. It's like you can't enter in. You get into the GPS of your car, right? The navigation system. You get into the navigation system of your car, and it says, okay, please enter your destination. I got news for you guys. The land that God will show you is not one of the choices. You understand? I mean, like, what city? The land where God will show me. Hey, where are you headed? What address? The land where God will show me. How long is it going to take to get there? The land where God will show me. How many know that that's not part of the navigation system? That's not in the satellite system. That's not going to show up on the radar. You can't look that up in Waze. You can't look that up in maps. I'm going somewhere with this morning. The Holy Spirit's speaking to people as we wrap up Faith, Favor in Your Future, Part 3. I got news for you that you're not the first one and you won't be the last one that God spoke to and said, I want you to get a little uncomfortable. Your destiny, listen, if your destiny is big and your destiny means something, if your destiny is going to impact people's life for the future generations, if your kids are really going to be somebody, if the legacy is really going to mean something, if you really mean business about making a better future for yourself and losing the life of the poverty-stricken life you came out of, or the abusive situation you came out of, then I got news for you. You need to expect the challenge. You need to expect the challenge. I text. I'm on several group texts in the morning with some people that I'm colleagues with, or people that maybe share other leadership, and there's people that I minister to, my employees, different management, different things. I'm on 17 different group text chats in the morning that after I do some devotions, I actually kind of interact with. And I text something out this morning that goes along with this. And I want to read it to you if I could see it. It says, don't be surprised. I can't even see it. The lights are shining down on it. I'm using the lights as an excuse. Mike, can you see that? The one right above, the one here. Read that. Maybe we could put a screenshot of that up. Can you do that?
It took me a second to do it.
And we'll post the screenshot up into the comments. I want you to see it. This is actually from one of the text message threads this morning in my phone. Do you see that one? It says, don't be surprised.
When I grabbed your phone, it moved up. It's, do not be surprised when you face adversity and setbacks when trying to do God's will. The enemy will do everything to try and take you off your kingdom assignment.
Okay, so if you could screenshot that somehow and put it in the comments where I can actually read it as well, and then maybe they can see. I want them to actually see the screenshot. It'd be kind of cool.
I have a screenshot on the new iPhone.
Here you go. I'll do it. Sorry about this, guys. This is important. This is and then Mike, the face went off of it. All right, so I'm going to text this to you, Mike.
Okay.
All right, I know how to do that. Sorry, bear with us for a second. But you can't be surprised if the enemy attacks you. You can't be surprised if the enemy comes after you, or if there's setbacks. You can't be surprised when you're headed to where you're going. I mean, if your vision is going to impact people with any size, if it's going to impact people at any number that's significant, the enemy's got a radar on you. But I'm going to tell you, it doesn't make it any less less frustrating or scary. God said, Abraham, man, hey, leave everything you know and go somewhere that you don't even know where it is. I'm going to take you and show you to a land that I'm going to show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. Now, I want you to understand something. What that is, and by the way, this is the New Living Translation, but I'm breaking this down for you. This is in Genesis 12, 1-3. I'm breaking this down for you to sum up faith, favor in your future. Why? Because what I just read to you is all of them together. The Lord said to Abram, leave your native country, leave everything you're comfortable with, your relatives, your father's family, and go into the land I'll show you. Now, I'm going to tell you that is faith. That is faith. Leave comfort. Leave what you know. Go to what I'm not even going to tell you what the name of it is. Okay? Faith. And I'm going to show you that I'll make you into a great nation. Future. But then, listen where favor comes in. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. Still kind of tied in with your future, but listen to this. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. Do you understand that that's favor? God's basically saying, I got your back. I got your front. I'm surrounding you. I'm going to bless those who bless you, and I'm going to curse those who curse you. I'm going to part the Red Sea. I'm going to move mountains. I'm going to remove obstacles, and I'm going to bless those. It doesn't say that you won't have obstacles. It doesn't say that you won't face mountains. It doesn't say that you won't have to cross over seas. I'm going to part seas. I'm going to move mountains, and I'm going to topple obstacles. Do you get it? It doesn't mean what?
Working on it.
Working on what? Oh, no, I'm not that. I'm asking them if they got it.
I thought you meant me.
I see it in front of me. We're going to get that in front of you, and we'll read it. Hope you guys are getting something out of this, man. Your future matters to God. It doesn't just matter to you. God's not playing a game here, right? He's not sitting up on his throne going, all right, I've got all these people doing all these things, and you know what? It means something to him. It's for such a time as this. And by the way, the last part of that scripture in the third chapter, third verse of the 12th chapter, says all the families on earth will be blessed through you. Get that for a second. Get how big that future is. But here's what I want to point out as well in Romans. So in Romans, Paul is he's remembering Abraham. He's remembering as Abraham here. But listen to what he said. This is what's crazy. Listen, I get anxiety thinking about God telling me, hey, leave all that and go somewhere. By the way, while you're on your way there, I'll show you. I'll tell you, turn left. Oh, no, turn right. It's like, God, man, I can't even turn my blinker on. You didn't. But listen to what Paul said in Romans 4:19 through 22. This is going to blow your mind. He said, Abraham's faith did not weaken. What? Even though at 100, he hadn't seen it yet. At 100, he figured his body was as good as dead. And so was Sarah's womb. So on top of all of this, God said, I'm going to make you the father of everybody. I'm going to make you everybody's daddy. I'm going to take you somewhere that you'll find out where it is when it's time. I'm going to bless you and make you famous. You're going to have a bunch of kids. Leave what's comfortable. Oh, and by the way, Abraham didn't see it happen and he got 100. He got to 100 and his wife's womb was dead. His body was dead and her womb was dead. Talking about obstacles. But Abraham never wavered in believing God's promise. What kind of faith is that? In fact, his faith grew stronger. And in this, he brought glory to God. He was fully convinced that God is able to do whatever he promises. And because of Abraham's faith, God counted him as righteous. Man, let me tell you something. That is what I'm talking about. His future was so vast. It was so big. It was so powerful. And so is yours. That he had faith that not only didn't weaken, but it grew stronger. And because of that, God counted him as righteous. God poured his favor out upon the assignment that he placed on Abraham. You got to get this in your spirit this morning, folks, that Jesus hasn't forgotten. God hasn't forgotten you. Not only has he not forgotten you, he's fortified your faith. And he is built up on the inside of you the ability to make it through any obstacle that's placed in front of you. Whew. Now I know why the enemy wanted to cut this off. Why he wanted to cut this off in the beginning. Faith, favor, your future, and Facebook. But the enemy can work through Facebook, but he can't work against your faith. Amen. He can't work against the favor of God. He can't work against the future that God's placed in you. He can work against every other thing. You can think of a bunch of other F's that he can work through, but he can't work against your faith because it's faith in God that can't fail. He can't work in the favor against the favor of God because the favor of God is more powerful than him. And he can't work ultimately against your future because God said, my word will not return void. But he can work through Facebook.
Yes, sir.
I got your text up on the screen, by the way, for everybody to see.
Y'all see that? Do not be surprised when you face adversity and setbacks when trying to do God's will. The enemy will do everything to try to take you off your kingdom assignment. And that he will do. So don't be surprised. I think you take the wind out of the enemy's sail when you're not surprised. I think that's the key. He's like, boo, and you're like, yeah, I saw you coming.
It's like when your kids, you know, they're around the corner, you know, they're hiding behind like the curtains,
Right.
and they're trying to scare you, and they jump out, and you have to act surprised, but you're like your significant other looks at you like you weren't surprised.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah,
come on now.
absolutely. Take it away. Take your power away from him. Don't be surprised. He you know what I think he does? I think he does is it's like when you see a movie and you see an evil villain that tries something and it doesn't work. And he's like, what? That didn't work. You know, it's like the enemy's like, did you do it right to tell him the demons? Did you do it right? I mean, did you miss anything? Wait a minute. How about this? This is their weakness. Did you do this? Yeah, I did that. We tried that. Yeah, we went there. And it didn't surprise them because the adversity and setbacks should be expected when you're on your assignment for God. But understand, listen, if you talking about setbacks, Abraham was 100, folks. God's like, you're going to father the world. Not now. just keep getting old. Oh, here's Sarah. Her womb is dead. Can you imagine the voice of the enemy speaking into the ear of Abraham? You're 100.
It ain't gonna happen.
Your boys don't work no more. Seriously, I'm not being graphic here, but I'm trying to say this. You are 100. And ha, 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 ha. God called you to father the world. Your boys don't work and your wife's womb is dead. Now what do you got to say about yourself?
How can you be a father without a kid of your own?
Woo! Come on, Mike. You can pop that in the comments.
Good night.
How can you be a father without a kid of your own? Mike Cherub. Mike drop. Mike Cherub. How can you be a father? Do it ... Mike. ... without a kid of your own. That's Mike Cherub right there, baby. Hey, let me tell you something. Expound upon that, Mike. I mean, you're going to be a father, but you're fatherless.
It was
You're called to be a father, but you're fatherless.
I think, and I won't say this, you know, I know maybe you can agree with this. When I was going literally into the room where my wife was going to give birth, I was like, how am I going to do this? Mm-hmm. I have no idea what to do. The last time I had any meaningful interaction with a child this small, I was like 10 years old and helping out in nursery at the church I was at. Like, I don't know how to deal with kids. How can I be a father? What do I know about being a father? I can only think about that going into knowing I'm about to become a father, and then think about if I was 100. If I was 100, still don't have a kid, and God's saying, well, you're going to be the father of nations. I'm sorry. I have no idea how to handle one kid. You want me to handle, 100,000 kids? What? How do you expect that to happen? But that's what the enemy will do. He will sneak in, and I'll be extremely transparent because this is something I've been dealing with very recently.
Right.
I stepped down from my last church. It was 2 years ago now, actually a little over 2 years ago. And I have not gone anywhere since. And for probably the past almost 2 years, I've allowed the enemy to kind of take certain things that I have issues with and kind of just continually whisper in my ear. And it's kept me from being able to minister and be able to do what I feel like I'm called to do because of that. He's taken that, well, this church isn't going to be any different than the last one. Mm-hmm. Well, this church is going to have the same problems that you've got a problem with. Well, this church is going to do the exact same thing, and this is going to have this, and that's what he does. He literally will just he'll find that thing that, He
just talks.
He does. It's just nonstop talking. And for me, I was jaded. If I'm being completely honest, I was jaded on, as quote unquote, church people. I was jaded on them. I didn't want to be around them anymore.
So was Jesus.
Exactly. 100%.
So was Jesus. Don't you listen? Church people,
but
church people don't mean God's people.
He
God's
took
people
that
go to church, but church people don't mean God's people.
Right. But he took that tiny bit of frustration that I had, and it really was a tiny bit of frustration because, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, my issues were very insignificant. But he turned that into a bigger problem, and that allowed, that took me away from where not only I'm called to be or called to do, but has prevented me from potentially reaching and doing what I'm supposed to be doing for other people.
Now you know.
And I know.
Now you got to do something about it. God,
I know. But that's just me being transparent. But that's what the enemy does. Man. Like I said, it's something I've been struggling with for almost 2 years now, and like probably in the last month, I just kind of been thinking about it, and I finally was like, am I really doing this because like why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I allowing the enemy to keep? And I won't even 100% blame the enemy. I'll blame myself. Like, why am I allowing myself to keep myself?
Well, it started with the enemy. The enemy starts a fire and leaves.
Yeah.
The enemy starts a fire and leaves. He causes ruckus and then leaves. He messes everything up and then leaves. And then it's up to the enemy on the inside of us. The enemy within us, we embrace the chaoticness of the enemy. But he stirs it up and then leaves. He's a fire starter. He doesn't see it through, and he's a father of lies. But
it was weird because the time that I kind of like turned around was when Tommy came back by just for a visit that day. He was talking to me about it, and he just kind of said, "Why are you letting people stop you from doing what God's called you to do?" And it just kind of hit me hard. It was like, why have I been doing that?
It's good.
But that's what the enemy does. Like I said, he'll sit there and he'll just whisper. And that sometimes as strong and fervent as you can be, sometimes that whisper gets in the back of your mind and doesn't want to leave.
Yeah. Sometimes
it doesn't want to leave, and it's one of the hardest things to overcome.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, it's about that time, Jensen. We tomorrow we may actually could pick up a little bit on this and add something to it, because I do something Mike said could actually segue into maybe faith, favor in your future, part 4. It could, because let me just leave it here and then we can kind of play with it. Mike said, how can you be a father without a kid of your own? But maybe someone's watching right now that you've birthed that kid. You've had that child, and I'm figuratively speaking here. You've birthed that promise. You've walked in that assignment, but it's dormant. Let me explain. So Abraham, fast forwarding, he had Isaac, right? And God told him after he had Isaac, which was the start to the assignment of being the father of all nations, God tells him to kill him, to sacrifice him. So my point is that what happens when you have to father the nations? You get your promise, and then all of a sudden your promise seemingly is dead. And so maybe we can play on that tomorrow. We'll see what the Lord has to say about that. But guys, let me tell you, faith, favor in your future. There's no excuses, right? There's no excuses. The harder the enemy fights, the bigger the prize, the bigger the purpose that God has for you. And I got a question that Jesus asked the disciples, and we'll read this again, and it's in Matthew 16. He said, "Who do you say I am?" Who is he? Who is he? He's the one that's called you and given you a snapshot of your future. He's the one that's prayed that your faith, the faith of who he is, your faith will not fail, and he's the one that will favor you for the journey. You can get there if you don't quit. And he said, "Who do you say that I am?" Amen. I believe that this is needed today. And what's the song, Mike?
Song of the day is "Who You Say I Am" from Hillsong Worship. Literally, the moment you said that, I was like, all right, I know.
Good stuff.
Also, as the last announcement, I said it a little earlier in the show, we had some technical glitches. By the way, we'll get the entire episode cut together and put that up today. Also, pay attention. April 12th is officially the next drop. We'll be announcing the next drop for Faith Gear.
You're going to want it.
We are all excited about it.
Want it.
This is the biggest. This
will be the biggest drop we've done yet, as well as, honestly, I'm extremely excited because it wasn't just, and I don't mean this in any kind of disrespectful way, it wasn't just one person. It was a collaboration of like 8 of us that were working on this, and we're all really excited about this. So stay tuned. And on that note,
we out.